We'll go ahead and get rolling tonight. So I'm Jerry. If you guys don't know me, I own DYNAMX, so we do this course every single Friday. And the purpose of this course is just to get different information out there. So that's thing A. Thing B really is about having a community, having like-minded people that are positive, big thinkers that want to accomplish big things. And so that's our whole goal, is to build a viable network of people that show up every week that are focused on the same stuff, where we can find encouragement, opportunity, network, accountability, and lots of other things that kind of blend together in that mastermind. So this is week 3 of the 10X Super Life. So we've done week 1 and week 2, obviously, and the first week we really covered a lot of different definitions and goals and just things that are involved with creating a super life. And so the conclusion that we came to was that a super life is about creating a life that's unusual, that's extraordinary, that's extra large, that's big. Those are a lot of the descriptive words that we went through. And so really that life is something that we've got to create every day. To create means to bring into existence. So we're going to create a super life. We know that A, it's got to be intentional. It's got to be something that we focus on every single day. B, it's got to be something, like Mike said, that we've got planned out. Okay, who's set goals before? We've all set goals before, right? I remember my first New Year's resolutions. Actually, Mike, would you mind navigating the computer screen for us tonight? My first set of New Year's resolutions didn't really come true. And the reason was, I didn't share them with anybody. I wrote them down. I was kind of embarrassed about them. I didn't want anyone to know. I was afraid to fail, so I didn't tell anybody. And I wrote them down in this journal, and then I just never took them out again. I didn't show them to anybody. The next year came around, and I looked at them, and some of them I was close on, and then some of them I missed. Like, not only missed, but some of them I went like backwards on. They just didn't happen, and I also made negative progress. So the focus tonight is we need to get the goals established, but we also need to have specific plans associated with those goals. Okay, we've got to actually have specific plans that we can follow day by day, and then we need to have checkpoints as well. And these checkpoints are going to be things that keep us focused, and it's perfect timing. We're coming into second quarter of this year, right? So those quarters are great times to check in and find out, hey, how am I doing with my progress? Am I on track? Is this something that actually is in alignment with where I'm going right now? Because it can get easy to just get caught up in the grind, right? We work and we work and we work and we work and we look up, and sometimes we don't realize, like, hey, I'm not where I thought I'd be at. Maybe I'm not close enough. Maybe I'm in a different direction altogether. And so it's important to have those moments where we can sync up and say, all right, yep, I'm on track, or no, I'm not. So tonight really is going to be about mechanics. Okay, tonight is going to be about how. How do I put this all together? How do I actually draw this thing up? How do I make it work? Okay, so just to tell you a little bit about myself and how this kind of plays into my life, I've always been about goals. I've always been about goals. Now, they didn't always happen, because like I said, I didn't always have a plan in place, but I've always been excited. I've always been motivated to go after unique things, and I've always wanted to do big things. And so what would happen is, again, I would like, for example, I think I was probably 10 years old. I decided I was going to be in the NBA. I was a 5'2" white kid that lived in Big Lake, Alaska, but I was going to be in the NBA. And not only that, I was going to be the MVP. Because if Steve Nash could do it, so could I. And so I had this goal. I was like, man, I need to go shoot 500 shots a day. I need to go to the gym every single day, and I need to shoot 500 shots every single day. And then I realized, well, I probably need to up that. If 500 is a good number, I bet 1,000 is a better number. And I got excited, and like I said before, I didn't tell anybody. I wasn't like, hey, I'm going to go shoot 500 shots, hold me accountable to it. That was just in my head a good idea. And then it went to that 1,000, and it was even better idea. But what happened is I didn't actually show up and execute. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a schedule. I didn't think about, man, if I'm going to do 500 shots, or if I'm going to do 1,000 baskets a day, that's probably like 4 or 5 hours of basketball, huh? That's a lot of time. Where am I going to fit that into my schedule? And then what about all the other things that I need to incorporate around that? I'm probably going to be hungry, so I'm going to need to do meals. I'm probably going to be exhausted. I'll definitely need to shower. That's time I didn't consider. So this is all stuff that I didn't plan out ahead of time, and so when it came time to execute, I was shooting from the hip. Who's ever done that before, where you had great intentions on a goal, but you didn't plan things out, and then you get there, and there's kind of that moment where you're like, dang, I didn't realize I was in for all this. And then we get discouraged, and we kind of back away, and we lose ground on it. and then we end up withdrawing from the goal altogether. So what I've learned in my life is we've got to get really, really specific with our goals. Okay, so the goal is this big overarching thing. It's really easy to get that. It's usually this larger, like more ambiguous, broad thing, and it's exciting to think about. But underneath that goal, there's got to be a purpose. Okay, so the purpose is going to be your why. Why am I going after this? A lot of our goals, sometimes we don't always connect with the purpose. So two things can happen there. A, we can kind of feel lost, like we're just kind of almost following someone else's goal. It's almost like it's been something that somebody else told us was a good idea before, and so we started doing it, but we never actually connected it with our why and our focus. So A, you can feel lost. B, you can feel friction. You can feel this tension or this resistance. Okay, so that purpose, it may actually be aligned with something entirely different than what the goal is. And so while you're going after your goal, your purpose might be all the way over here. And then you feel what we call burnt out. You feel exhausted. Okay, who's ever heard this term, burnt out? It's one that gets thrown around a lot. Okay, so when I first started feeling burnt out, I didn't know what to do. I was like, what's wrong with me? I got all introverted, and I was like, what's wrong with me? I got to figure something out. This isn't good. And I started thinking about, why am I burnt out? What's going on? And so I started thinking and learning and just looking up words. I'm really big on that. And I realized that burnt out is a phrase that comes from engines. It's talking about a motor burning out. It's running out of fuel. So you can think about, there's only two reasons a motor would run out of fuel, right? There wasn't enough gas in it in the first place. Relating to goals, if you're burnt out, not having enough fuel would be your goals aren't big enough. They're not feeding you. You're not thinking about big enough stuff. It's not getting you excited. Like, think about if you have this goal and the payoff isn't actually big enough, you're probably not going to be that excited to achieve it. Okay, I think about losing weight. I had goal when I was back in the day. I used to do bodybuilding, so I'd have to lose all this weight to get in shape for a show. There's a reason I don't do bodybuilding. We were talking about donuts again last week. There's a reason I don't do that anymore, because the payoff wasn't big enough. Okay, it was awesome and it felt great, but I would diet for literally 16 weeks and I would get down to like 5% body fat. Best case scenario, I get a piece of metal that says I did a good job. Best case scenario. It just wasn't worth it. So I wasn't excited about it. I did it 2 or 3 times and I got burnt out on it because the payoff wasn't big enough. Now, if someone was like, Jerry, if you do this bodybuilding show and you win, you get a jet. I would probably still be competing today. I'd be going for that jet. Okay, and you can see practical examples of this. We went to Dave & Buster's. We do a Dave & Buster's thing as a group every single month. We went like 2 weeks ago. Every single time we go Friday night, there's this guy, and he goes to the dance machine where you step on the little, and he's on there every single Friday night. He's got 2 gallons of water with him, and the guy just hammers it out for like 3 hours. And I had no idea why. And then we went into the prize room, and if you get to levels, they got like 40,000 and 100,000 point prizes. You can get some pretty crazy stuff there. And so every Friday, his goal's big enough. He's going out there and he's putting in probably 3 or 4 hours of physical work to win like these Beats headphones, to win like these things that for him they're motivated. But if it was like, hey, you get nerds, you probably wouldn't be there 3 hours on a Friday. But that's our goals a lot of times. So growing up, that's what I realized is my goals weren't big enough, and so I wasn't excited. I didn't have the fuel to continue pursuing them, and that's why I would feel burnt out. The other reason, the second reason why burning out happens is because we have resistance. So think about it, a vehicle, what happens to a vehicle if you strap a parachute to the back of it? You have unnecessary resistance. True or false, that's going to use up more fuel than if you don't have it. Because it's going to take more effort to go in the same direction than it would any other way. And so that's how our goals are too, and that's called alignment. So if our goals aren't aligned, and that's a big thing we're going to talk about tonight, if our goals don't all flow in the same direction, then we get that resistance. We feel like we're always wrestling against something. We feel like we're always pushing, we're always fighting, we're always struggling. And ultimately, either we're going to figure it out or we're going to quit. And a lot of times people quit, and it's these small little tweaks that we're going to talk about tonight. How do I align my life to where all of it goes in the same direction? Not only do you get rid of the resistance, but you actually get more horsepower. You actually get it flowing all in one direction because you get energy from all areas of your life. So that's what we're going to go over tonight. And really the effect that gives you is it gives you speed. So we're going to talk about building wealth. You'll find out that building wealth doesn't have to take a long time. It's going to give you actual energy. You're not going to have all these areas in your life where you dread, like, oh crap, I got to go to work. Oh no, I got to do this. Oh no, I got to do that. I was taught as a kid that some stuff you just got to do. Turns out you don't. Some stuff you don't just got to do. You get to pick and create all of that stuff. Tonight we're going to talk a lot about creating. Okay, creating means you're putting something into existence that wasn't there before. So how do you take an idea and how do you create it? And it starts with all the processes we're going to cover tonight. Now, we're in a unique spot in the year. We didn't plan this, but it's halftime. Okay, we did New Year's resolutions 6 months ago. We have 1 day left in June, and then it's July 1st. That's halftime. The year's halfway over. So I won't make anyone get up here and share, but I want you to think about what were my New Year's resolutions. And we're going to analyze and just figure out how am I doing so far? What do I need to do to actually accomplish these? And maybe I need to set new ones. That happens to me sometimes. You get halfway through the year and you're like, this wasn't actually a good goal. Maybe I need to reset and take another look at what I'm doing here. So go ahead and hit the next slide. We do have an offer that we have for you guys tonight. We'll talk about this at the end. Our intention is to give you enough information to bring you on as a client. Some of the people in the room already are clients. We've got tons of people winning on our services, and so our goal is to not just have this be an exciting Friday night, but actually like initiate change, where you've got consistency, you've got a plan, you've got a coach, you've got a team, and you've got everything you need to be equipped to make this thing actually happen. Next slide, Mike. We do have several books in the back, so if you're not ready for a big commitment with coaching and a plan, get information. I mean, information is powerful. The average American reads 1 book a year and they don't even finish it. Okay, the average CEO, the top CEOs, they read 60 books a year. Now, I don't think you need to read 60. I think there's probably like 10 to 15 really good books out there that if you spent time and actually read them and studied them until you understood them, that you'd make serious progress in life. And I can vouch for that because that's what I did. Okay, next slide, Mike. So this is the first thing that we're going to cover. This is called the 10X Super Life Pledge. Now, do we have any of these? We should, right? Lexi bringing them up?
Yes.
Okay, Ben, can you go grab these slides from Lexi?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're on the way up.
Awesome, thank you. Grab whatever she has. So this is called the 10X Super Life Pledge. So we're going to pass these out here. I think one more. Actually, you're on the right slide, Mike. So basically, the 10X Super Life Pledge is going to be a commitment to building out your 10X Super Life. Okay, so again, 10X is a multiplier. So we're teaching you don't build your life by addition, build it by multiplication. Think about this. This is how it works with money. If you save $1 every single day over and over and over, and you're just saving $1 every single day till you're 60, and you're in a contest and somebody else is multiplying their dollars, who's going to win that contest? Person multiplying, right? They're going to get there much faster because they're working in exponential values. Okay, it's the same way families work. I always jokingly say families are like pyramid schemes. They just blow up. Like you have a couple people and they have some kids, and then those guys get married and they have some kids, and then their kids have kids, and it's this giant thing. So the concept of multiplication, we know that it works, and so I want you to think about this with your life. So the commitment to the 10X Super Life. Now, commitment defined as it says here, it's a pledge, it's a bind to a certain course, it's being dedicated. The etymology or the origin of that word comes from join, entrust, or to put into custody. Now, I want to point out that most of our lives are already in custody. So I want to ask you, as you're going through this tonight, is your life in your custody or is it someone else's? Are you actually controlling your outcomes? Are you actually making your own decisions? Or are you letting that be up to somebody else? See, I don't believe that it has to be up to somebody else. It can be. You can let it be that way, but it doesn't have to be that way. And the way that you do that is you just choose, hey, I'm going to start being in control of my life now. So I want you to think about, as we're going through this course tonight, making a pledge to really making your life out to what it is. Okay, and some of this you're going to feel some resistance on. I'll be honest, you're going to be like, man, this guy doesn't sound realistic. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, he doesn't understand my circumstances or my situation, or what I'm going through is unique. whatever you're going through, there's somebody in the universe that's going through the same exact thing and still winning, and you have the same capability. Totally true. It's not always the thing we want to hear, but it's true. And so I want you to really think about, right now, am I committed to keeping my life where it's at, or am I committed to making a change? And if I'm committed to making a change, I actually have to begin to disagree with where I'm at. Because if I continue to agree with where I'm at, it's physically impossible for me to actually make something different. It just can't happen. Okay, it's called cognitive dissonance. Your brain cannot do something it disagrees with. It's impossible. Your brain will not do something that it disagrees with. You can try. It's that concept. You ever had somebody like they try and get you to flinch? And if you're a flincher, no matter how hard you try, you will flinch. Because your brain doesn't agree with you not flinching. So you have to look at your life tonight and think about, where am I agreeing with my situation that's not beneficial, that's not helping me, that's holding me back, and how do I need to change those agreements? And it really is as simple as that, and it sounds very easy. In practicality, it's not that easy. It's difficult, and it's going to be an everyday thing. But we're going to go through the tools tonight. So the 10X Super Life Pledge, go ahead and hit the next slide. So the 10X Super Life Pledge, we're going to go through different areas of life. And I want to just go through, and if you're willing tonight, I want you to actually make this pledge to yourself. This is not a pledge to Jerry. This is not a pledge to your friends, to your family, to your spouse, to your buddy, to anybody but yourself. It's pledging to your potential and saying, hey, I'm going to go after the best version of myself that I can be. So I'm going to go ahead and read this pledge off to you. And I want to just say, going into this, a lot of times when we hear about success, we immediately jump to a scarcity mindset of, well, yeah, but it's not all about money, or it's not all about this, or it's not all about that. After we're done with this pledge, you're going to see very clearly that it's about everything. It's not just about anything, it's just about everything. Okay, pledging to a super life means that every single area of your life is doing well. Okay, and that really is about making the most out of every opportunity. So the first one is pledging to my professional career. We're going to talk about this one first, because most of us spend 40 to 60 hours a week at a job, right? And so it's either, we love being there and we go there happy, or we hate being there. And so then we're exhausted every week, and then we live for the weekends and we're trying to retreat, and then we can't wait till retirement when we're 60 so that we can quit. So we can live that life, but versus maybe the option of, hey, if you can enjoy life now, like what if you could wake up every day and enjoy what you're doing? What if you could live for 7 days a week instead of the weekends? What if all the stuff you were planning on doing when you were 60, you could do when you were in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s, and also when you're 60? See, a lot of these things, like what if it doesn't have to be the way we were taught it was? So, pledge to my professional career. I commit to take 10x action, to take action at 10x levels daily to ensure I'm reaching my full potential in my career. I will invest time and money in having my 10x profession. So what is it that you want to do? Because basically, there's this concept of like passive income and 4-hour work week and all this stuff. And there is income that's passive that comes from assets, but you're going to do something with your time, right? I work with people when they actually retire, like they turn 60 and then go to the beach and don't do anything. Usually they die sooner. Usually they end up with Alzheimer's, they end up with dementia, they end up with these conditions because their brain starts shutting down and their body starts checking out because they don't have a purpose. So I really want to give you the idea that work does not mean job. Work is actually something that's a privilege. Okay, I think everyone in this room can relate to, there's work out there that you just love doing. It doesn't even matter if you get paid. You just love doing it. You would do it anyways. And if someone pays you, that's an added bonus. What if you could have a life set up where you were able to do that work and you could come when you wanted to and leave when you wanted to? Maybe you got paid from it, maybe you didn't, but either way, your finances were taken care of. How awesome would that be? So that's your 10x profession. Okay, some of the best people that I know that are industry professionals at the top level, the reason they can be that way is because they no longer need the money. They've got their finances figured out, so they don't have to do it. They don't have to do anything. That's the key to it. Not having to do anything puts you in the position where you can do anything. So that's your 10x profession. So making a pledge to that is a big deal. 10x family life. One of the first objections I get from people when I start talking about wealth is, Yes, but I have a family and I have kids and I have a wife, I have a husband. Good. Those are things you should have, and I'm not telling you to ignore those. So 10X Family Pledge means I will invest time, money, and resources and care with my family to ensure that we have a 10X family life. I create time for my immediate and extended family to ensure that my family is best equipped for survival. Does that sound like neglect? I think that sounds pretty awesome. And so having your life figured out where you're committed to that from the get-go is the way that you make sure that that doesn't fall off. Because guess what? I know broke people that don't make their families a priority too. It has nothing to do with having money or not having money. It has everything to do with priority and commitment. So making a pledge to that is really where this starts. And then pledging next to 10X my income. So everything that we want to do, it's going to take income. Any goal that you put out there, it's going to take funding.
Wealth DYNAMX believes everyone has the God-given right to own their potential. Most of us don't because we spend 40 hours per week serving the 40-year-to-life sentence, trading our precious time for worthless paper called money. We live on an economic planet and time and money do need to be exchanged, but it doesn't need to be your time or your money. We teach our clients to secure income-producing assets that make the time and money exchange for you so you can buy your freedom back and live a life of abundance and prosperity. To get there, we must know how to make money, how to keep it, and how to multiply it. Wealth DYNAMX provides coaching, education, accountability, and community to help you build wealth. Join our coaching program, get educated on the Wealth DYNAMX University, and begin networking with the Wealth DYNAMX Mastermind Group today. To get started, go to wealthdynamics.com.
I remember when I first got married, me and Lexi would want to go on dates, but we were broke, and we would always we would literally have the conversation of, man, everything we want to do costs money. We can't do anything for free. Like, we can go take a walk, go hiking, and that's kind of it. Sometimes we couldn't even go hiking because you got to pay $5 to park. So we were like, man, everything we want to do it needs income. We've got to have that income in place in order for it to happen. If you have a charitable cause somewhere along the line, that's got to have income. If you have a business idea somewhere along the line, that's got to have income. Now, we've already covered this, but again, you can choose to participate in that or not participate in that. I've tried both of them, and trust me, it's a lot harder trying to be the guy that doesn't have money and then trying to achieve all the things you want to achieve. It just doesn't work. It doesn't pan out. So pledging to have a 10X income, I will take all ethical actions necessary to 10X my income. I commit to learning the skills necessary to ensure that I am able to reach my 10X income goals. I will no longer settle for income that just allows me to barely get by and will do whatever it takes to 10X my income. So, I mean, that's kind of where probably 80% to 90% of America is at, though. The income is just enough to get by. Every other Friday, we're scared to death. If there's a medical emergency, we have no idea what we're going to do. If a vehicle breaks down, we know that we're going back to credit cards. If our investments pan out, we just kind of figure, if they don't pan out, we just kind of figure, all right, we'll have to work till I'm in my 80s. The way that you fix that is you increase the income. Now, increasing income, it doesn't have to be a mystery, and that's a lot of what we teach our clients is how do I actually start to increase my income? Whether you're a W-2 employee, whether you're in sales, if you're in sales, you can especially increase your income. If you're a W-2 employee, you can also, but the thing is we're not taught that information. I just had a coaching call today with a client of mine. She works at a college, and she's a W-2 employee. There's not really a commission she can earn, but we walked through and hey, you're having your quarterly review next month. What do you need to do with your boss to get your income up? I had this same conversation with a client of mine right out here in Wasilla, and he was able to lock in a $35,000 raise. So it's possible, but you have to know what to do, and it starts 6 months ago. It doesn't start at the meeting. Okay, and if you're in sales, same thing. I've got clients where we've been able to take their income from $10,000 a month to $140,000 a month over the last 6 months because we talk about how do you increase your sales. So the income really matters, guys, and the income is the ability to have choices. Okay, choosing basic things. If we could all eat organic, I bet all of us would. If we could all live in a nice, clean, safe neighborhood, all of us would choose that. If we could all drive the vehicle that we knew wouldn't break down, all of us would do that. Income is the thing that puts us in a position where we decide whether to do that or whether not to do that. Okay, I can vividly remember making decisions that were bad for me based on the income I had. I'll go here, I'll live here, I'll drive this, I'll eat that, I'll spend time with these people based on my income. And it wasn't until I realized what I was doing to myself and what I was doing to the people around me when I decided, hey, I'm actually going to take control of this. So not having enough income really does put us in a position where we're cheapening ourselves and trading our time and our values and our energy and our creativity and our ability away for money. And if we can figure out how to tweak it, how could I increase my income? What if I didn't have to trade those things away for money and money wasn't a thing that I had to consider in my decisions? See, that's what wealth really is. I believe wealth is the ability to treat money like oxygen. Okay, imagine if we treated oxygen the way we see people treat money. Like I hoard it, like I take a breath and I'm like, oh, and I hold it for 2 weeks because I don't want to let it out. Or Rico gets some and all of a sudden I'm pissed at him because I think he took all mine. Or we start getting in fights about it. Or I start, getting into debt with oxygen, trying to borrow some from Alicia because I don't think I have enough. Like that would be ridiculous, but that's oftentimes how we treat money. So what if we could treat money the way we treat oxygen? We don't think about how much there is. We don't count our breaths. We don't hold our breaths. We don't get mad at other people when they breathe. We just take what we need, and also we let out what we feel like letting out. That's income and expense. We bring in the amount of income that we feel like we want, and we spend the amount of money we feel like we want. Now, just like breathing, income is the same way. Just like breathing, the only time it gets bad is when we mix those things up. We forget to inhale or we forget to exhale. A lot of times it's easy to settle and say, okay, I'm good here. Yeah, I believe flat lines fall. So as soon as I stop trying, it's going to go down. That's just gravity. So I've got to still be learning and keeping that area up. Now that might be easier. I might spend less time on it, but I still need to learn. So for each of these areas, think about what do I need to learn in this area? That's going to involve reading. That's going to involve studying. It's going to involve watching videos. The neat thing is you can learn just about anything now. So there's not really like this closure on information that we used to have. You can pretty much go out and learn anything these days. So think about just from a broad standpoint, what do I want to learn? And then just set out going out to learn it. There's some subjects, just so that you know, like you're not alone on this, there's some subjects that I've had interest in. Initially, I knew so little about, I didn't even know what to Google to start learning about it. So I had to learn what I needed to learn. That's going to be some of the stuff for many of us in the room. There might be an area or two where we're like, I've never done this before. I don't even know where to start. So that's again, you're going to still need to put in the time and the effort to learn that. Okay, the last one that I want you to think about, who do I need to know in this area? Who do I need to know? This is where network comes in. I think something that is either downplayed or sometimes poorly described is the importance of network. Okay, the thought that if I need something, I know somebody and I can reach out to them and they'll help. In any one of these areas, that's huge. That's a network. Okay, the areas that I didn't even know what to Google to begin to start, guess what I did? I called somebody that I knew that was doing well in that area and I said, hey, I'm interested in this. What do I do? That's network. Especially when you start thinking about like increasing income. I'll tell you, going from 0 to $250,000 a year, you can do by yourself. You don't really need a network to do that. But if you want to get past that, which all of us should, it's going to involve knowing people. It's going to involve having a network. It's going to involve having connections. It's going to involve helping others and reciprocating. And if you're going to need to do it, you may as well start from day one, right? So that's a big part of like this room here is a network. Everybody in the room here tonight, we're on the same page. We're here for a reason. And so this is a network. This is a group of people that you can reach out to and say, hey man, all right, I'm interested. Maybe I'm interested in diet. Rico's my guy. I'm going to hit up Rico and be like, hey man, what do I need to do? If I'm interested in having fun, Mike's my guy. Mike on his goals writes down he wants to own 5 amusement parks. I'm going to Mike anytime I need to have fun. And I'm going to be like, Mike, where do I go, man? And he tells me. Okay, if it's about art or if it's about aesthetics, Alicia is my person hands down. Okay, so you need to have people like that. That's a big part of what this is about, is having that network built out. Okay, those of you that are clients, just in our Facebook group, we have about 200 people in that group. We've got everyone from the guy that's at zero, that's just starting out, to the guy that's making $50 million a year with his company, and he's playing at a high level, and everything in between. So if you're just starting out and you see somebody there, that's maybe some accountability. If you see somebody that they're playing at the highest level and that's where you want to be, that's somebody that you could reach out and mentor. Or be mentored by, I mean. And if you see somebody in the group that's struggling, and you know you've got experience there, that's somebody that you can reach out and help. But I believe you should have one person in each of those categories at all times in your life. You should have somebody that you're learning from, you should have somebody that you're accountable to, and you should have somebody that you're teaching. And that comes back to, who do you need to know in that area? So who do you need to know that you need to learn from? That's the thing, is if you don't have somebody there, then you're your own ceiling. You can't, there's a certain point, there's certain things you can't do just by yourself. You can't do a real estate deal with yourself. You can't be like, I'm the buyer and the seller. There's got to be somebody else there, otherwise it's pointless. Okay, there's also the accountability thing. You need to have somebody that's playing at your level. Now, the person that's playing at your level needs to be the accountability, not the person that's above you. The person that's above you doesn't have time for that. So if you come over to the $50 million a year guy and you're like, hey, can you help me wake up on time? They're probably not going to be interested. But if you come over to them and you say, hey, I'm at this level and I want to get to your level, what do you do? Can you help me? That's a conversation they're interested in. If you're working on, hey, how do I wake up on time? Or how do I go to the gym? How do I spend my money? How do I not go back in debt? Find somebody that's also doing that, that's going through the same thing, and that's going to be a better accountability source. Okay, and then you do need to have somebody that you're teaching. I believe that when you learn something, if you don't share it within 24 hours, you lose it. Okay, anytime I've had to teach something, I learned it way better than when I just learned it. If I had to step up in front of somebody and teach it to them, I had to master it. So if you have that in every single area, then that really puts pressure on you to perform at a high level, doesn't it? If I've got to teach somebody now about physical health, or I've got to teach somebody about finances, or I've got to teach somebody how to go on 5 amusement parks, I'm going to be on my game because I'm teaching this person now. So I really got to learn it so I can pass the information on. See, imagine all the stuff we just went through tonight. I know we covered a lot of data, but imagine if you actually went home and did all of it. What would happen? Just think about, where could you be at right now? And you don't need to beat yourself up over where you're at, because you can create it now. You've got tomorrow, and you've got the next day, and you've got immediately when you get home. There's been conferences and stuff that I went to. Lexi can attest to this. I'm a fast guy. Every single time if I learn something, immediately I'm doing it. So there's been conferences where we got back to the hotel, and I whipped my notebook out and I went to work on it. So that's good. If you're able to act that quickly, that's good. But don't beat yourself up over, hey, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. That doesn't help you. Think about, what could I be doing now? We've got it all written down on paper. And this goes back to what I said at the beginning. We can either agree with the current situation and keep on going, and we can say, but I have this, but I have that, but this, but that, but you don't understand. Or we can say, and. Yep, I have this, and I'm still going to go for it. As a coach, and then this will give away the trick for those of you that are clients. As a coach, when somebody says but, I stop listening. Anytime but happens, it's a contradiction. I know that but. Yes, but. I meant to do that, but. Whatever is said after that is nonsense. It's and. I have this going on, and how can I include it? How can I make it happen anyways? Because at the end of the day, everything we do it anyways. Okay, this is really what it comes down to. It comes down to these daily things, guys. Do it anyways. I know I need to save money, and there's other things I could be doing, but I choose to save the money and do it anyways. Or we flip it. I know I should be saving money, and I know I shouldn't go buy that new car, but I'm going to do it anyways. Everything we operate on, successful or non-successful, we do it anyways. So it's really about, how can you do it anyways on the right stuff? With all the excuses and all the obstacles and all the challenges, how can I do the thing I know I should do anyways? And stop going into agreement with all of these obstacles. You're going to have obstacles for the rest of your life. So if you can't learn to not agree with them in your entire life, you're going to be at the effect of the obstacles. And so what I want to challenge you to do tonight is start operating on a different basis where you're cause. You cause everything. If there's an obstacle, A, you caused it, and B, you're going to solve it. Even if you didn't cause it, how does it help you for someone else to have caused it? Then it's their obstacle. I can't control their obstacle. It's got to be mine. So think about, how can I be cause? And that really is what this is about. Now, Mike, I think we skipped a couple slides. Can you go to the one that says omnipresence defined? There we go. So omnipresence defined. So omnipresence is this definition, and it's what you have to be in your life to really have wealth. Omnipresence, widely or constantly encountered, conveys the concept of being everywhere in all places at the same time. That's how you win this game. You've got to be omnipresent in your life. I've got to be everywhere at once. The people that really win at this, they've learned how to take every single area of their life and multi-purpose it into as many of the other areas as possible. So they're never just doing one thing. They're always doing one thing, and that one thing is going to hit all 8 things. Or even 7 of the 8 things. It's about, how do I multitask and multi-purpose? Now, I used to not believe in multitasking until I had a conversation with a pilot, and he's like, you go sit in a cockpit and then tell me multitasking doesn't exist. You will crash and burn. And when I realized that at the highest level, that's how he's operating, well, what if I could operate that way in my life where I know how to multitask? And I'm not standing up here telling you it's easy. Like, learning how to pay attention to all of these areas in your life, at first it's exciting. So this is the phases you'll go through. I'll just tell you up front. You're going to be excited. Like, boom, there's all this stuff happening. I've got goals. This is awesome. This is great. Then you start tracking them and doing all the daily activities that I said. Then you're going to go into overwhelm. Because you're going to be like, dang, there's all this stuff happening. I never used to have to think about all these things. But let me share with you, they were happening. You just didn't realize it. You're trying to control them. It's just like using a new muscle. The first time you work out, you're crazy sore. It's repetition. It's continually doing. Okay, if you can continue to do it over and over and over and over, I think the magic number is 12 weeks. I know we were told 21 days to build a habit. I think it's closer to 12 weeks. If you really want to get something down, you've got to do it every day for 12 weeks. If you can do it every day for 12 weeks, what it does is it turns into mental programming. Okay, you've got stuff that you do that you don't have to think about doing. You just do it because it's a habit. You did it every single day for so long that you got mentally conditioned into doing it. So imagine if you could control those things. If you started doing that with good things, things on purpose. You're like, man, I'm going to do this one every single day for the next 12 weeks. What that does is it takes your attention units off of it. So now you're not overwhelmed. You're actually, that thing is just going, and it's a habit now. It's a behavior. And you can start to do that and incorporate that with everything. So yes, it does take work, but so does what you're doing now. Yes, it is stressful, but so is what you're doing now. Yes, it will take time, but so does what you're doing now. It really is about what outcome do you desire. And if you desire a different outcome, you've got to put in different thoughts. You've got to put in different actions, and then you'll finally get the different results. Next slide. So this is, let's go up one. Back.
Wealth DYNAMX is an independent wealth creation firm. We have products and services that help you make money, keep money, and multiply money. You cannot build wealth without doing all 3 of these things. We save our clients 25% on debt, insurance, taxes, and investment fees, increase income by 30%, guarantee tax-free liquid savings with cash flow banking, and secure 8 to 10% fixed annual returns on your investments without Wall Street. On average, we can do this in the first 90 days of working with you. Simply schedule a free consultation with a wealth coach. Our services often cost you nothing more than what you're already spending. Go to wealthdynamics.com/contact to schedule your free consultation.
Back. There we go. So this is one of my mentors, Grant Cardone. This is going to be anybody's success story here. We see these people and we're like, man, they're way up there. What we don't realize is the 30-year journey that happens until the overnight success story. So when you're thinking about your ideal picture and all this stuff that we wrote down tonight, realize it's going to look like this. So Grant right now, Grant has over almost 10,000 apartment units, $800 million net worth currently. But he started 25 years old, broke in a treatment center for drug addiction. Then he became a used car salesman, and he just started saving money and buying real estate and continuing to do that over and over and over. And then he started a business, and he was more broke as a business owner than he was as a car salesman. And he started earning money and saving it and buying real estate and continuing to do that. Now the guy owns a jet, he owns all these apartments, he's got all this income coming in. And so it's easy to look at somebody like that and say, man, that guy's got it all. But it's going to be the same for you. Okay, so his overnight success was 32 years, 700 interviews, 11,000 unpaid speaking gigs, 2,000 paid speaking gigs, 3,000 airline miles, 5 PR firms, 5 partnerships, 5,000 newsletters, 3,200 videos, 1,100 articles, 150,000 social media posts. Measurable amounts of criticism and ridicule. Now, whether you want that kind of a success or yours looks totally different, you're going to have that backstory. And that backstory happens one day at a time. Like, how many thousands and thousands of little tiny activities are you going to do constantly over and over and over for the next several decades? Nobody's going to know about them. They're just going to see the result. Like, man, this person's doing great. But you have to go into it knowing that that's the work you're committing to. And I want to point out, though, that this could be Billy, and Billy's broke, and Billy's not doing well, and it would be 32 years, over 700 times watched The Office on Netflix, $11,000 in credit card balances, 2,000 paid hours of work, 3 million whatevers, and all of these stats could still be on there, but they're not productive stats. And so what I want to point out is these are things that people have as far as the numerical stats and where their time goes and where their energy goes and where their productivity goes. But it's whatever you tag onto the back of it that makes the difference. Okay, so you could go home tonight and be like, man, I'm going to go figure out how to start tagging on better activities and counting up the activity level on those things and actually causing it to be productive. Or I'm going to go home and I'm going to still have stats. I'm just not going to pay attention to them, and it's going to be stuff that nobody knows about. It's going to be stuff I'm not proud of. It's going to be stuff that didn't help. Next slide. So this is really the end game. You're guaranteed to win at this as long as you don't quit. Okay, failure only happens if you quit. That's really the truth. Like, I know we hear that and it's cliche, but failure only happens if you quit. Okay, the ability to have is the ability to reach. Would everyone agree with that? If I can reach that camera, I can have that camera. If I can't reach something, I can't have it. So as long as you don't stop reaching, you keep making progress. You keep getting closer to having that 10x super life. And that really is the success. Like, as long as you don't quit and you keep reaching and keep pursuing, it doesn't have to be these giant strides all the time. It's going to be, I continue to reach, I continue to look for it, I continue to make progress. And sometimes it's good, sometimes I fall back, sometimes I move forward, but I continue going and moving forward. And if you can do that every single day and not quit, you're going to get good at this and you're going to have an ideal life. And the funny thing is as soon as you get there, it's going to change. Like, you'll get there and you're like, okay, cool, I want to go to the next thing now. And that's just part of it. It's a game. But as long as you continue to reach and you're willing to play, you're going to continue to win at this thing. So go ahead and hit the next slide, Mike. So I do want to talk about our offer really quick tonight. This is a program that I want to offer out to you guys. If you're listening to this and you're like, man, that was awesome. This sounds like something I'm interested in. I would like to do more of this. This is our flagship program. It's called Wealth Dynamics University. And so this is something I want to talk to you about. You guys can talk to our staff here as well tonight and get set up with it. If you listen to this and you're like, that guy was nuts, I can't wait to go home, this was terrible, that's totally fine too. We probably won't talk to you about it too much, but I do want to give you some information on this. So this program is 12 months of access. The total cost on this is $4,297, and this really is for somebody that wants to go all in, somebody that's willing to commit 100% to making this happen over the next 12 months. This is going to focus on probably 6 different categories. So the first one is the right information. Okay, so you'll be studying the right information. You'll have our 9 library required reading list. You'll be studying through that. You're going to have a 420-page textbook that's going to focus through all of these different categories that you'll study through and track through and start operating with the right information. Now, all of the people that we study, most of them are old dead guys, meaning that they've already finished, and we can look at the scope of their life and look at the history and find out what they did to win. But think about if you started studying that on a daily basis and getting different information that told you what to do rather than what you can't do, information that encouraged you instead of holding you back, how would that change your operating basis? Like, how much differently would you think? So that's part of what's included here. The next thing that we're going to go through is planning and goal setting. Okay, if you have plans and goals now, it's based off the information you have. So logic says if the information changes, the goals will too, right? So what we want to do is take you through a system that's proven to set your goals up. And like Mike talked about at the beginning tonight, giving you a specific and individualized plan for each one of those goals. Okay, a big reason goals don't happen is we don't actually have a specific plan for each of them. We just kind of throw them out there and we don't have anything to track or pay attention to. Now, after the goal setting is in place, you're going to go through coaching and accountability. Okay, so coaching, quite plainly, a coach that gets you where you want to go to. Coaching comes from the term stagecoach. So when you get in a stagecoach, you tell the driver where you want to go. That's the goals. And then the driver says, okay, this is where we get to. We're going to go there. I'm going to get you to that destination. I'm going to get you there safely. And I'm going to get you there on time. That's what a coach does. Now, accountability is included. This doesn't mean we call you up and ask you if you woke up on time and brushed your teeth. This means that we broke the numbers down and said, hey, this is what you're responsible to do. Okay, as a coach, I'm kind of a jerk in that sense. I'm not going to ream you. I know the numbers are going to do that. The numbers are going to do that, and you're going to do that. There's nothing I can tell you that's worse than what you already tell yourself when you don't achieve a goal. So I'm just going to say, here's the numbers. Let's go get them. And here's the information, and let's start training and make it happen. Now, I will ask you to do things you're probably not used to doing, and that's where daily training comes into play. What's special about this program is it includes access to Cardone University. Cardone University is the #1 sales and business training platform in the world. So it's over 1,500 videos. It's broken down into a 4-part certification program. Single-handedly, this is the program that's built my business. So I went from being nothing and nobody to where I'm at now, running a giant business and doing tons of things for clients all across the world from studying on this program every day. Just like any great athlete, you're going to need to train. Anybody that thinks they can get there without putting in daily training is kidding themselves. You're going to need to skill up. It has nothing to do with just arbitrarily training. It has everything to do with, to get to places you've never been, you're going to have to work on and do things you've never done before. So training is going to be involved in that. So I tell people, if you've got 30 minutes a day, you can train. Even if you don't, if you've got 10 minutes a day, you can train. Even if you've got 1 minute a day, the guy that trains 1 minute per day will do better than the guy that doesn't. So daily training is part of this. Now that program is going to walk you through the system over a 12-month period. It's a lot like going through a university, like college courses. It's video content. You have quizzes at the end. I'll be able to see your scores. I can see if you're doing your videos. I can actually see your passing ratios as well. Rico knows. Rico's won our top trains several times. So that's what's included with the daily training. Now, the next thing that you'll have access to is our network. Okay, so our network is basically all of our clients. Okay, now we don't tell you who people are in that group. That's your job to go find out. We have some really awesome people in our group, and the clients that do the best with us are the ones that get that from day one, and they dive into the network and they start introducing themselves and finding out what other people are doing, who they are, what problems they have, how those can be solved. We've had real estate deals come out of that network. We've had business deals come out of that network. We've had referrals, partnerships, and all sorts of opportunities come out of that group. I can attest, like, that's a group of my clients. Those are the people that helped me build this company. So we have awesome people in that group. We had a guy today just now post in the group. He's in business here in Anchorage, and he said, I don't have another group like this that I'm a part of. He's part of tons of other groups, but he says this is the most serious group he's in. The people are the most willing to win, the most positive minded. Like, we don't have any like funny business in that group at all. There's no negativity. Everyone's there to produce and move forward and grow. So the network is hugely critical, and these are people that can help you excel and speed up the progress. Now, the last thing that you'll have access to with this program is the actual financial resources and investment tools. So as you're going through the plan, you're going to need to do things. It's like going on a road trip. You'll need to take pit stops and get tune-ups and go to different places. So we connect you with, whether it be saving strategies, whether it be investments, whether it be estate planning, whatever that may be, we've got it all lined up to where you can plug right in and you don't have to stop producing. Go figure out what this thing means and what it does, and then go make up for lost time. So think of it like having a pit stop. You show up, you get fixed up with the thing that you need, and then you keep on pushing. And what that does is it takes time out of the equation, and it also increases your certainty. Because everything you're doing in that space is linked up with the numbers on your plan. So the doubt related to, is this investment a good idea? Should I be putting my money here? Should I be buying that? Should I be doing that? That's all taken away because it's math. Should I do this? Gets answered with, well, we need to go from here to here mathematically. So does this thing do that? If the answer is yes, then yeah, it's probably a good idea. If the answer is no, it doesn't do it. The numbers don't match. So that's really the result that creates. And what this does ultimately is it takes time out of the equation for you. It increases your certainty, and it allows you to have the security to know that this plan is actually going to happen. Okay, it's not this ambiguous, like, hey, I put my money here and I hope it's happening and I think I'm doing the right stuff. Like, we get very specific. So at the end of the day, we boil this down into what are you doing daily, weekly, and monthly in order to hit these 12-month goals and these 5-year goals and these bigger things that we're going after. So if you're interested in that, what I'll have my team do is if you're interested, they'll just sit down and talk to you about it, provide more information. If this is not something that you can afford, we do have smaller priced products. We go all the way down to just books that we know will help. I legit had a lady come in that was like, I can't afford a book. I said, great, what's your struggle? And she said this, and I let her screenshot 6 pages, and I said, go do these, and then come back next week. So our goal really is to help. We want to make sure that you're winning on this. I believe that if you're serious, this package will do that. Go ahead and hit the next slide, Mike, or let's go 2 slides down. Real quick, I do want to share 2 client testimonials. This is a client that's working with us out of Michigan. He owns a business, and basically this was 3 months ago. So he started with me in January, and his goal was to make $10,000 a month. I was like, Doug, you made like $9,000. $10,000 is not an awesome goal, don't you think? We should make it bigger. And so he was trying to be reasonable, and I was like, if you did 10,000, could you do 40? He's like, yeah, I could do 40. And so we started working on the plan. We boiled it down into metrics, and I basically got it down to where we said, Doug, go do this every single week. Doug did that every single week, and the result was he went from 10,000 to 77,000 in 3 months. Now, the other part of the story that I need to get another success story from Doug on this week, 3 months later, so this was 3 months ago, 3 months later, he did 140,000 this month in revenue. Just by following, like, it's metrics, it's math. So it's not a magic wand or board breaking or trust falls. It's these numbers add up, and if you do these things that are associated with these numbers, it will get you where you need to go to. And the reason Doug wins at this is Doug shows up, he works hard, and he listens. He's there on time for his coaching sessions. He shows up for his goals. He puts in the work that we talk about, and he listens. Doug has two kids. He's married. Doug has life. And Doug doesn't bring his excuses to the table. When I say, hey, Doug, you've got to increase your amount of contacts if you want to bring the income up. Doug, you've got to hire more people. Doug listens. So those are really big factors. Next slide. This next one is one of my favorite clients, Bonnie. Bonnie lives in Wasilla. She's been a client of ours for some time now. When I first met Bonnie, she had all of her money in the stock market in 401ks. We did her plan. We found out that within 10 years of retirement, she would be broke. Her husband went through some health issues, and so he wasn't able to work anymore. So what we did is we looked at Bonnie's 401k. We were actually able to roll that over and self-direct it. What that essentially means is we took Wall Street out of the equation. We got rid of her fees. And when we looked at her net return in that 401k, she was making 4% annually. And that was before inflation, which is about 4%. So 4 minus 4. You guys do the math on that? But Bonnie was able to go from 4% to now getting 10 to 12% fixed annual returns backed by real estate. It pays cash flow every month, and she's not concerned anymore because the math lines up. And this was in 2 appointments. This was not like a 6-month thing like Doug. This was we met, We looked at numbers, we looked at other numbers, we made a decision, and we made a better move. So the reason I show these things to you guys is it's not these ambiguous claims, and it's not like this 3-day weekend seminar that you go to and get pumped up. This is a commitment to continual betterment. This is something you do every day. It's something you show up for every week, and it's a commitment to continue to grow and make this a long-term thing. Next slide. So a quote from an article I wrote last week. So this says, you must create habits and a lifestyle that flow with the expansion of your income. That's really what this is about. Okay, we talked about a lot of stuff tonight, but the main takeaway of tonight's message is alignment. Build a life that's aligned. Build a life that goes in the same direction. Get rid of the resistance, get rid of the friction, and have it all push the same way. It will be difficult, it will be hard, it will take time, it will take energy, but so does life right now, and you got to look at what are the results versus what do I want the results to be. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. I want to go ahead and get a round of applause for everybody that showed up tonight.